Brick-Hezea, and over the course of my academic career, I've had so many amazing teachers. But when I heard about this contest, I knew exactly who I wanted to write about. I remember my first day of high school as being an adventure. Suddenly, all of this freedom and responsibility were thrust upon me in a veritable jungle of older and tougher students. I had exactly one friend at the start of the day, but when I walked into fifth period, I felt at home. Originally an office space secluded in its own little hallway, Mrs. McFalls' classroom was a shoebox. On one wall lay tomes of classic literature, and on the other strutted a myriad of action figures. A smart board loomed over stacks of multicolored paper, and seated amongst it all sat Mrs. McFalls. Though she seemed like a mild-mannered cat lady, she proved to be the most amazing and intelligent person I had ever met. We were told she competed on an episode of Jeopardy, though none of us has ever been able to track down the footage. There really was no need. Every day in her class was something akin to a trivia tournament. She would often add in mind-blowing facts and context to each and every lesson. I remember being awestruck some days by how much she knew. There's little I'm sure she couldn't write a book about. She told us once that she never liked to play in the snow. She would just sit back and watch it fall outside her window with a good book in hand. And with that same serenity, Miss McFalls conducted her class. She sat perched at the chair in the front of the room, peering down at us through calculating eyes and witty remarks. Because of this, her class never felt like a lesson. It felt like a conversation, something real and unmanufactured. As students, we were always free to express our thoughts about a topic, and Mrs. McFalls encouraged our creativity. Lessons for each class period varied as the conversations took different routes. Whether it be the uncanny structural comparison between Star Wars and the Wizard of Oz, or the system of geometry in Japan, her side note lectures never failed to evoke an epiphany. Classes with Mrs. McFalls were always both insightful and hilarious, and I loved every minute of them. I excelled in her class, even though it was the most challenging course load of the year, as her dedication and understanding helped me navigate any stressors I encountered. I still use my notes from last year because they were so clear and concise. Mrs. McFalls is real and genuine with each and every one of her students, showing an obvious passion for teaching. She comes to know us all as well as we know her, and uses logic rather than force to discipline. Thanks to Ms. McFalls, I learned so much more than what is taught in freshman English. I gained real insight into a world of knowledge and now foster a greater appreciation for learning. Mrs. McFalls is a role model to students everywhere, and I am eternally grateful that I had the opportunity to be in her class. Thank you.